And I'm going to try to stay calm tonight.
Can you do it?
No.
No, it's got nicotine in him. It's got a power drink in him.
I love watching these shows, man. If we do it right, it'll be fun to watch. Because I want to watch a good show. I don't want to see a bad show. I promise I won't do that during the podcast.
Yeah, because that echoes.
Come on,
Really
we got to do
bad.
this. Tell me to go. Say go.
All right, you ready?
No, yes.
Quiet, and 1, 3, 2.
This is the What's Neat show for September 2nd, 2017. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, tonight with Chris Palomarez by my side. I've got Dirk Reynolds, Matt Gentry, and of course our favorite Daniel Coombs with us this evening. And I'm really excited to say that our podcast has now got its first sponsor, Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. So we'll be covering a little bit more about their product, but check out, for example, the brand new website that's just been set up. Our good friend over there, Mr. Otto, has spent a little bit of money making this beautiful website, and I got hats off to him. It looks really great. But now I'm going to hand it over to Chris Palomarez because I think he's got a good show agendas for us this evening.
Well, you had a couple things that you wanted to go over with. We'll do that in a minute. We had actually a viewer question about flawless helix design, and that kind of opens up a little bit more than flawless helix design, because sometimes the flawless helix design is to not use a helix. Maybe the better track plan or the better layout plan is to avoid the helix and try to make use of the space other than having this 8-foot bubble or 4-foot bubble. Just depends on what your minimum radius is. It still eats up a lot of space. So you got to kind of treat it like a bullet, and you got to be responsible with it, and you got to think, okay, is this really the best solution? Is a helix really the best way to go? Designing a layout around that. I mean, Ken, I know you have a single level layout here. What are your thoughts on that?
I didn't want a helix because, well, okay, how are you going to run your trains? Are you talking HO scale mainline trains, big long trains? What I did for my grades on this layout was I built this narrow gauge area where I wanted to experience the grade. I wanted to see the locomotives work their way up a 4.5 or 5% grade as if we're in the mountains. You can only have a few cars at that point, limited load limits. It was really exciting to test the locomotives and make it more like the real thing with grades that you could visibly see. So I like it that way. A helix to me would be lost in that while it's eccentric, it's really neat, it's engineering at its finest, it takes up a great deal of space to perform a task that I didn't find necessary for the narrow gauge stuff.
Right.
I can't really speak to it for HO scale. I've seen some great helixes done in town here. Some of the Anamari guys have done them, and functionality-wise, they work. They do get you from point A to point B at a certain level.
Right. Well, you know, I'm not one that I've never built a helix. You know, I built something for, you know, a balloon pretty much to reverse around, but nothing as complicated as, you know, kind of a corkscrew going up to another level. I've just never built that. I'm in Fremo. All of our layouts are pretty much just flat, one level, and portable. So, you know, I can't really comment on how to build one as much as I can say I try to avoid them. And this is just me personally. I mean, it may not be for everybody. Some other, I'd say a quicker way to enjoy your layout would probably be maybe think of a switchback, or, you know, the Europeans are also using kind of like a train elevator solution. You might want to explore those options before you start investing, because a helix can be extremely expensive, time consuming to build. There's also an element of waste, because there will be inevitably be parts of the wood and some of the other materials that just end up in the trash can. So commenting on that part, I try to avoid helixes. You know, if I've done designs where, you know, the layout was the helix. You know, it uses all the walls to go up different levels, and then finally the second level. So you might want to consider that too, versus just like a big thing in the middle of the room. I know there's been some people that move the helix outside of the train room, and I'm sure that comes at a pretty penny too.
That would be the way I do it, because I actually don't want to see it. It's not aesthetically something I want to look at, other than, oh, look what I did, isn't that neat? But if I were even modeling an HO coal load type of railroad where you've got grades, or we're modeling something, California, where we've got grades, I'd want to still see my grades. And because I'm fortunate, I've got a 60-foot long run, that I'm able to actually model a grade if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much grades.
Dirk, what are your thoughts on a helix?
I don't think I'd try it. I've seen them try to hide it in a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So you enter in this tunnel, and all of a sudden, up here he comes out this tunnel. There's time lost in there. Also, your engine, your train gets in here, and it disappears, and it takes that time to climb. And now there's nothing going on anywhere on your layout,
right?
And then all of a sudden, oh, here he comes. So you've got dead time in there too. So I've seen most of those double side. When you get a layout with both levels, these levels never touch each other.
Yeah.
It's completely two different layouts. They're just at different levels. I've even seen the three.
Right.
Which that's wow. But
I mean, whoever's like really thinking about a helix, you might want to reach out to the layout design special interest group too, because that group has a lot of experience just as layout designers, layout builders. There's a lot of just knowledge within that group, and I think they're part of the NMRA, but sometimes those SIGs are kind of more of a standalone group too. They invite people in of all demographics.
And one of the things to take into consideration is the space you're putting the layout in, because if you're at that point where I need a helix for more runtime, you could be putting too much in the space and just have a big spaghetti bowl of track, and it just doesn't work when it's all done, and now you've wasted all the time, energy, effort, and stuff like that. So that's when you really got to take a look at the layout plan itself and just see if a helix is necessary, or if I can execute much better on a single level layout.
Yeah. Well, it's struggle to fun.
Yeah.
I mean, a helix will require a couple friends to put together, to lift up the different segments, lay track, and then it's a complex build. It's not for just someone beginning, you know.
A lot of calculation involved.
Right.
You got to know certain widths, and then you got to think going upgrades and say, okay, this many feet to go around. How do I increase it, decrease it? Or I've seen guys where they'd have those very long screws, and then they put the boards on top of that, and then they tighten them down with the washers or wing nuts or whatever and hold it in. But it's also at the same time, like what Matt just said, you put that all together, and one little mistake, and it's trashed. And then you got to start over from scratch.
Yeah, an HO scale, 7 feet equals 1 inch, or a 1% grade.
Yeah.
So... And also, you have to do it the prototypical way in the railroad. The railroad doesn't climb like this because that's too much tension. That's why you see they go, if they want to climb, you're in the mountainous area, they do curves and come up. And you've got your curve, what do you call that curve?
Easement?
Right-hand curve.
Easement
Curves.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, my Lord.
It's okay. What's still recording? Hey, the cell phone's still
we
recording.
Cell phone's recording.
Yeah,
and
cell phone's good.
We are.
And the microphone is still recording here.
Technical difficulties.
I know, we got light here. This is a good time to talk about, I got to tell you.
Here's a first.
We've got some new microphones picked out for the show, and we've got this microphone. You can't see it now, but it's underneath a rubber pad, so when I'm sitting here wrapping my pencil on the table, we think it's going to work out really well. But these new microphones are going to be wireless. I want wireless microphones when we do interviews at train shows. And the gentleman that is handling, well, actually, quite frankly, I did an interview at a train show, and the reason for my strategy here is I want to avoid cables. Because I was doing an interview at the Narrow Gauge National here in town, and one of the gentlemen walked through the room, and he was so eager to get to the other side of the train show, he didn't realize that there was an interview going on, and he grabbed the microphone wire and went right underneath it, right during the interview with Mike Pine from Wild West Models. And I got to tell you, it was funny. You didn't see it in the video. We edited it out. But that's why we were laughing in the video for no apparent reason whatsoever. Now, so the plan is at some point when we set this podcast up where we actually have electric working all the time, we're gonna set this up as a professional studio. Everybody will have their own individual microphone on an arm, and we're gonna set this up. We're gonna divide the sound up to a soundboard, and everything should work out really well. I cannot believe we just got through that, but let's.
That's definitely going in.
You know, this happened to me last week when I was doing that photo shoot during the eclipse.
Yeah.
Same thing. But the fact is, we want to set the studio up so it's super professional. This lighter's hot. Super professional. I mean it now. The voices are going to be good. The guests will come. If we make this the best we can, it'll bring bigger guests. It will just be a better show, because I've discovered that sound is 75% of it, really, for video.
Well, you're going to have to make bigger stools for bigger guests.
I'm going to build some stools. I've been sanding and finishing the diorama things in the backyard that we use for photography. I've been having to do that every 2 years.
Yeah.
So I've had a lot of quiet nights in the backyard, just me and a paintbrush and polyurethane, just cleaning those things up.
You did it on a What's Neat, but I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, I did that. That was 2 years ago. My neighbor filmed it for us, cleaning up those dioramas. And while I've still got the floor, one more thing I want to hog in here. Tim Reynolds from Proto 87. Sent us some video of the cabbage. I don't know what it's. The Amtrak
F40 PH locomotive.
Thank you. The
engine was taken out, and they basically just converted it as like still had power to pull or push a train depending on where it was going. But then they put a baggage door on the center of the engine just for extra baggage.
That's
storage.
right. And that was those models from Rapido that we showed off last week on the show. But thank you very much, Tim Reynolds, for this beautiful California footage of those trains. And other than the fact that we got our new sponsor, which I did say, Jeff Otto at Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply, thank you very much for being the first sponsor to the show. We will show your product and talk about it on the podcast pretty much like we already do. But the fact is, the product works. It makes handling a switch just simple and lickety-spillet as can be. It's very easy to work with. So check out his new website that I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
And guys, I'm off the floor.
Well, kind of taking it back to Helix design for a second. There was a YouTube, and I'd normally have it going up and running, but the server just went down with the power outage. Yep. But what it was, I do have a recording of it previously. A gentleman took...
We didn't lose anything in that, did we?
No, we didn't lose a thing.
I hope not.
We just don't have a server.
Bulletproof.
Yeah, well, that's why we have a nice little laptop with a battery connected to that, so we have a little bit of redundancy.
Yay.
Good job. We would have lost our sound.
We would have lost our sound.
I didn't. I interrupted your train of thought.
That's okay, but starting off again.
Yes. Helix.
That's a dead horse, isn't it?
No, because there's still something to say about it. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. There's a gentleman on YouTube that used some kind of Tinker Toy looking stuff. They're Connects. And he's created a temporary helix out of Bachmann Easy Track.
Oh.
And that's running right now through the magic of video editing.
There you go.
And one thing to also think about when you're doing a helix is you got to design your trains, build your trains in the yard to actually be able to negotiate the helix going up, depending on what type, how tight the radius is, and then how steep the grade is. You'll need to put locomotives in certain areas on your train. So it might bring some operational challenge, and that might be desirable. Some guys just like running trains, and that's great. I mean, I'm kind of fall into that category too. There's just times where I just want to put a train together and run it. Yep. Either way, it's both different ways of enjoying the hobby. So
Hey, talk about the photo shoot we did tonight. We did a pretty spectacular photo shoot using the brand new Athearn
SDP40F locomotives.
Brand new. These are production run engines. So unlike the first model that I photographed that you've seen photos of where it was a flat paint scheme, it's got this perfect sheen on it. Like, it's beautiful. But tell us about the photo shoot that we did out in the dark.
Well, part of the reason why we wanted to do this photo shoot at dusk or in the dark was to really highlight some of the new lighting features on the Genesis model. Some of the new lighting features include illuminated number boards and then also the ground lights right above the trucks, underneath both the engineer and also the conductor side windows. So that's a new thing for Genesis models. We're really trying to scale that up to some of our other ones. It's going to take us a little bit of time, but
just one of the new mini features for the Genesis line.
Yeah.
And kudos to putting that emergency light on there too when you hit that emergency stop on your
Yeah, that look cool.
Yeah.
That does look cool.
Yeah, it adds another operational layer to it. I mean, there's a reason why the prototype has illuminated number boards and the ground lights and things like that, especially when you get into like nighttime operation, where I've seen some guys, they put up a bunch of blue lights in their layout room and dim the regular lights and just let the blue lights kind of take over, and then they do the sort of like nighttime operation, and that's when all your signals, your headlights, and all that stuff just kind of pop, and it becomes a little bit more dramatic, I think, when you're running that.
Just like the photographs that we just ran that you saw, the shoot that we had today, that was just beautiful photography.
Yeah, we also benefited from having, I think that's Illinois in the background. Yeah, over on the Illinois side, there was little lights from the villas out there, and that kind of came out.
Northern Columbia, where I live.
Yeah.
I live right across the river. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's clear night. The moon is out.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool.
I can't wait to see the finished photo shoot.
Yeah. We'll put that in there.
You just saw it. You know what? When the electric went off, I forgot to mention during that microphone thing, I want to get it so that the next time we do a train show, like the Prototype Modelers Meet next year in St. Louis, I want to set up the What's Neat trade show booth. I want a booth where we have our stage set, our table, all of our microphones, so that we can bring the manufacturers into the booth. That way we can control the video quality and the sound quality, because it'll already be tested out before it's taken to a show. Then we can start doing nationals, and let's see where this goes.
Right.
But let's treat it professionally and get a trade show booth and set our entire podcast setup there. And we'll broadcast a podcast from the show. Think we won't? This is going to be some great coverage.
You can do a live feed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's this great thing with cell phones now that you can get LTE or better. And that's going to be really beneficial to us to do some of these in the field type situations.
And heck, some of those halls even have Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's even better.
Yeah.
So, with that, I think that kind of wraps things up for us here.
That means we get to run some trains. Hey,
How about
boy.
that?
We get to put up the temporary bridge again and
Yeah.
get some throttle time.
First What's Neat This Week podcast with the electric off, but we survived it. Thank God to the, again, portability, backup. We've got backup for everything, and it worked on this.
So don't be
And
complaining
lighters.
about our technology, my generation technology this day, because I know honestly you're trying to get your head around the cell phone and all that.
Who, me?
Yes.
I treat a cell phone like Mike Buddy treats DCC.
Yeah, you noticed the light he was using was a lighter, not a cell phone.
Right.
The good old school way.
Yeah, it's the 70s.
I don't know how long we've run, but you want to close it?
All right, guys, thank you for watching. Please like or dislike this video, and don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below. We'd like to interact with everyone watching this video. As Dirk likes to say,
Train shows, and there's one this coming weekend. Boeing in St. Louis at Queenie Park. It's the biggest show in the St. Louis area. I'll be there. I'm sure you guys show up or
I'll be
something. And
sleeping.
actually, next week is going to be the Mark Twain Open House.
Next
Really?
weekend, that's right. I
Yeah,
need a babysitter
Saturday.
because we've got to sit in the hobby shop and what are we going to do?
We are going to be the spokespeople to Athearn.
Oh my, we're on the clock. We're working for Athearn next week at Mark Twain Hobby, so come by and visit if you're
Yeah,
in
come
the
on
area.
by.
Come on by. We might
What
be
day
shooting
is that
some
now?
video for that. I'm pretty
Saturday.
sure we
it
will.
is on Saturday during the show.
This is the longest closing
Okay.
I've ever seen, but yeah, unbelievable. That's going to be all hands on deck, and I need to hire a babysitter.
All right.
I won't be there. Sorry, Ken.
I might
I'll be at the
up,
show selling and come up and say
First
something.
time I've been to a hobby shop in a long time. I look forward to it.
Yeah, get you out of the cave.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching.
Yep.
And thank you for sticking with our dramatically
Yes.
long.
though. Technical difficulty.
by heck or high water, this podcast is going to conclude. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, Mr. Photographer.
That reflection's gorgeous.
Noise inside or outside.
Nice. Oh yeah. Good job.